taxes were collected by Jewish tax collectors. That's where you get Zacchaeus coming up. He was a tax collector, but he was a Jew. He was of the people he was of the Jewish people. Matthew was a tax collector before he started following Jesus. The Romans did this to try to make it look like this money was going to the Jews. This is going to build your economy. This is going to help. We're told that a lot. We're taking your money. We hear this all the time, but we're going to make things better for you. We're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and we're going to do the other thing. We're going to give you this and give you that and give you the other thing. And so far, I haven't gotten much when it came to taxes. We were figuring it up in school a few weeks ago in government class. By the time those kids get to be the age that I am, they're going to have paid nearly $1.5 million. If they make an average salary of around $50,000 to $80,000 a year, they'll be anywhere from $1 to $1.5 million that they'll have put back into the government. What a wonderful promise. I told them, I said, aren't you encouraged? I said, what will you get out of that? Very little. Because more and more of it's going to pay on debt. Well, their government back at that time, although it was going to the supposed Jewish king and the supposed Jewish province, most of it was being packed up into containers because their taxes didn't just consist of, putting money in. They didn't have checks. But a lot of times it would be their gold, their silver, the things that they had that were of value. And these things were packed up and sent to Rome. Go into the Roman coffers to fund their wars, to fund their conquests, to fund their highways that they were building, to help with their means of transportation and all of those things. So that's what a lot of the people were worrying about at this time. They were looking at the hassle. They were looking at all that was taking place around them. Oh, we've got to make this trip all the way back to our hometown, not to visit families, not for a big dinner. Well, I'm sure there were some who would look forward to it. There are always some optimists in the crowd. So I'm sure there were some who say, well, we haven't seen Jabed and his family for who knows how long. It'll be good to get back and have some fresh sheep snouts and whatever they were going to eat. Maybe Jabed and his family had a special recipe. I just like to think along those lines. And some people may have been happy, but most of them were saying, we got to make this trip, and at the end of the road, what are we going to do? We're going to pay our taxes. How exciting. How exciting. They weren't worried about what was happening. Unfortunately, a lot of people today are in that exact same boat. This time of year has come. They're not necessarily worried about paying taxes. We've still got a few weeks for that. Thank goodness we've got a few months before we have to worry about the tax man coming and wanting to fill out all those forms and pay our dues to make sure that we've taken care of everything, get all those receipts and everything together and start working on our taxes. I'm glad we don't have to do that at Christmas, but a lot of people are looking at it this way. How can I afford to get what my kids want? How can I afford to get what my wife wants? We've got to buy presents for this one. We've got parties here. I don't know about you. Christmas parties everywhere. Christmas programs. Some of you this morning or this evening, as we announced another program next week, probably wondering you're going to program us to death. Services, we got to be in this service here, and we just had 2 programs at school this week. There's something that we need to go to this coming weekend that I promised some of my students that I would be there for. Or is it? Oh, that's tonight. We've got to get out of here really quick. So anyway, I just remembered that. It's a good thing I made note. Yeah, I know you're thrilled. This is the way most people are right this time of year. We're hectic because we've got things to do. We've got places to go. We've promised people that we're going to be at such and such a place. I can remember growing up, the Christmas parties. having to be at Grandpa and Grandma's house, going to such and such a house, going here, going there, going everywhere. We're thinking of everything. We're in the same situation, if we're not careful, that they were back then. And most of us are thinking about Christmas, but we're not thinking about Christ. We're the same as those people who weren't worried a thing about their coming Messiah. They were worried about their taxes. What are we worried about? We're focused on all this. We're focused on that. And we're letting our focus slowly drift away from what's really important. We see that in the world around us. A few years back, the big deal was, well, people saying season's greetings or happy holidays instead of saying Merry Christmas. And we self-righteous people all got up in arms about that. And we're going to say Merry Christmas. I don't care what they celebrate. I'm saying Merry Christmas to them. There's nothing wrong with wanting to say Merry Christmas. But that became our major thing. And I told my wife at that time, I said, I don't like it, the way people are doing things and the way we've forgotten about Christmas. But that ship has already sailed on us. We're not going to change the world by getting everyone to say Merry Christmas. And too many people that were worried about that had forgotten the meaning for the season themselves. There were people that became very concentrated. I talked a couple weeks ago about the fact that we like to monetize the gospel. And that's exactly what that turned into. Before long, you could get T-shirts that said, it's Merry Christmas, with a capital C. Well, again, there's nothing wrong with standing up for things that are right. But we get easily distracted. That's the way we are. You can easily distract people today. And we get sidetracked. And before long, we've forgotten, what are we really worried about? What are we really doing? Why are we really celebrating this time of year? This is a celebration of the coming of the King. This is the celebration of the time that Jesus came. Not the fact that, let's see who can get the nicest presents this year. Let's see who ends up with the best pair of socks. I remember a few years back when I was teaching before, the guys in the classes, they were all about socks. I don't know if Edith had been hanging around them a lot or what, but my teenagers, they were all about what socks they were wearing. They'd come in the morning, and they'd all pull up their pant leg and show me the socks that they were wearing. And that became a competition. That Christmas, their main goal was to see who could get the most socks, and then when they came back, who got the best pair of socks. And I got caught up in that a little bit. I've got a drawer full of socks. And it comes to find out most of those socks are made out of something that makes my feet itch. I can wear white socks. I can wear black socks if they've got enough of a cotton content. Polyester and spandex make my feet itch. So I now have a drawer full of socks. Some that were given to me by students, some that I went out and I bought myself because I thought, these are cool. And I rarely wear any of them because they really don't mean that big a deal. We got sidetracked on socks of all things. We get sidetracked easily. I've got a dog. It doesn't matter what's happening. It doesn't matter what's going on. If she hears a fire truck, she is excited about that, and that becomes her sole goal in life, to sit and bark and bark and bark at that fire truck. Not because she wants it to go away. She's excited. She should have been a Dalmatian. I'm convinced that her soul got put in the wrong body somehow, and she should be in a firehouse somewhere because she's easily, if a fire truck comes along, that's what she's worried about. A lot of people are that way. If something comes along, all of a sudden, boom, we're focused on that. And then something else comes, and now we're focused on that. And now we're focused, and we lose too many times focus on the cross. As we come down to this Christmas time this year, don't worry about the things that are going on around you. Don't worry about what you were called to. Don't worry about the presents. If you forget my card, I'm not going to be upset. If you don't get me a present, I won't be mad, unless you're my wife, or my son, or my daughter, in case she's listening. The rest of you, I don't know. But if you forget Jesus, if you forget the reason for the season, if you become so overwhelmed that you start dropping your time of devotion, stop lighting up in times of prayer, passing by the things that God has put first for the things that this world has tried to replace Christmas with, don't allow yourself to be taxed, but remember the Messiah. Let's stand. We'll be having a time of prayer after the service, so don't run off. If you can stay and pray with us, take care of what you may need to take care of, and then join us back around the altar for a time of prayer. Sister Tarter, will you dismiss us, please?
Remember, this is your season. You don't go